Welcome back to the channel, and today we are diving into one of the most legendary motorcycles ever built, the beautiful Ducati 916, and here is mine. So let's take a moment and take a look at the history of this bike, its design, its beauty. So let's rewind to the early 1990s. Ducati, already known for its V-twin engines and racing pedigree, but the 916 was something entirely different. It was designed by the visionary Massimo Tamburini. The 916 wasn't just a motorcycle, it certainly is a work of art. Its single-sided swing arm apparently made wheel changes faster for racing pedigree, but really it was a copy of the Honda NR 750, and it just looked amazing. We then go also to the NR 750 for these incredible underseat exhausts. Futuristic, apparently helped centralize mass, but in reality a design cue that drove superbike design for the next couple of decades at least. And then there's those twin headlights. Unmistakably Ducati, sharp, focused, and they started a design language that continues to this day, with a slight change for the 999, but they quickly reverted back to the double headlight design. Front and rear, we've got these three-spoke, very much 916 derived wheels. They are heavy, built by Brembo, and they switched to a 5-spoke model in the 996 and the 998. Those were made by Marchesini, and this was after Brembo acquired them. But these original wheels made by Brembo. Now, early 916s wore Cagiva red and featured Cagiva elephants all over the place. You typically find them here on the fuel tank gauge and across the, which was a nod to the parent company and a requirement actually due to the fact that in the early release of this bike, there was a fire at the Ducati factory and they had to be made in the Cagiva factory. Thus, the early ones are a darker red and not the bright Ducati red that we see here. And these models, to be honest, are extremely well sought after. So if you find yourself an early one, that's a real treat. Viewed from above, the 916 has the silhouette of a voluptuous lady, thin waist, ample proportions. It's no coincidence that Tamburini sculpted it with aesthetic appeal in mind. And we have this wonderful young lady that's demonstrating exactly what he was thinking. Let's take a moment to look at the design symmetry of this bike. Now across the top here you have what's called the bone line. Look at that, the seat unit, the tank, the top of the handlebars, the top yoke, all in perfect alignment. Then we have various other kind of design elements, the tips of the exhaust through the underseat of the tank through to the joining of the fairing. We can come up through the frame to the top yoke, down to the base of the axle on the rear wheel, all balancing the bike for that aesthetic appeal and making it all the more pleasurable for us to look at. Both functional and beautiful. Again, from the underside of the seat through to the subframe, into the logo going down the side of the fairing. All in balance, all beautiful. The 916 hit the scene in 1994, replacing the Ducati 888, and it did not take long to make its mark. With Carl Fogarty at the helm, the 916 dominated World Superbike Championship, winning multiple world titles and really becoming a symbol of Ducati's racing prowess. There have been several versions of the Ducati 916. The early ones, the Strada, were from the Cagiva factory, and had just the single seat unit, much like this, but you could tell a Strada from, I think, by the frame here. This one has a steel tubular frame, like the main part of the frame, and the bolt hole you see here for the rear pegs, and this means it's a Biposto 916. The original Ducati Stradas, that pole and the rear subframe is all aluminium. Then along came this model, which was the Ducati 916 in the brighter red for Ducatis. Then there were the special models, the SP and the SPS, very much tracks focused, Öhlins suspension, upgraded components, and so on. And then the very limited edition Senna models, which came in a different color scheme, and of course had the Senna branding down the side of it, replacing the Ducati logo that we see here. In 1998, this model, the 916, evolved into the 996, and later then the 998, pushing performance even further with, you know, improved engine components and larger engines. By 1998, the 916 had evolved into the 996 and then again to the 998, pushing performance even further. Although the design language, the DNA of the 916 lived on, not just in those two models, but in all of Ducati's future models. It set the course for the entire sports bike industry. Now, it's often called one of the most beautiful motorcycles ever made, and I think rightly so. It is featured in the Guggenheim Museum and also the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art as an example of its design brilliance, and it's really hard to argue with that. Just look at it. The 916 didn't just change Ducati, it changed motorcycle design forever. So whether you're a rider or a collector, the 916 is a motorcycle that deserves your respect. It changed motorcycle design forever and is a key moment in motorcycle history. I hope you've enjoyed my little run through the design of the Ducati 916. It's certainly a bike that I've always lusted after and dreamt about. I had one on my wall when I was younger, and I'm very privileged and, you know, delighted to be able to actually own one and have one in my garage. So look out for a test drive review of this. You know, does it still stack up in 2025, which is when I'm recording this, and for more content on the Ducati 916. So if you enjoyed this, want more content, please like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed my little run through, and I look forward to catching you on the next one. Until then, ride safe.